Create and execute Windows command files. Read and write files. This video shows how to create, read, and write text files from a command file. The code is self-contained. You should be able to copy it from the script on my web page, then execute it from any location in your computer. It will create two text files, textout.txt, textout1.txt, in the folder containing the batch file. You are watching a Tom's Tech Notes video. If you like this video, please wait until you are finished watching it, then click my name, Thomas Wallace, to visit my channel page. A welcome video will play to describe my other videos. The first part of the example will show how to create text files and how to write text into those files. This command is necessary if you execute the batch file from a shortcut. It will set the current directory to the directory containing the batch file so that when you work with text files, they will be in the folder with the batch file. You can see that presently, as shown in the echo, the path before the command is executed is the same. It did not change it. But remember, if you execute your batch file from a shortcut, it will not set the current directory to the directory containing the batch file. Here's the command to create and write code to a text file. Echo a variable or a string of letters that you're going to write to the text file, and this is a combination. It's going to write the current directory as text, followed by this as a new text line. It's going to write those to textout.txt. When you use one greater than symbol, it will create the file, or it will erase it if it's already there and replace the contents with what is just being echoed. If you use two greater than signs, it will add this line to existing text already in the file. So this file will now have two lines in it. One that will have this information on it, and the second line will have this is the second line. And you see it here, the echoing of the commands. Now once I press it's sitting on the pause, of course, so it'll go down to setting up the test files. Once I press a key, and I'll scroll, we're going to set up the test files for the remaining instructions. This instruction will write the text name1 space name2 space name3 to the output file text out. This instruction will write this line of text, which will say second line parm2 parm space 3 to textout.txt. This code will write text separated by commas to a different file. So notice I'm going to set x to 5, y to 10. I'm going to write x and y and the word now into textout1.txt. But they're going to have the commas in the file between the values. And then this is going to write another line, comma separated, def, comma, ghi, comma, jkl, comma. It's going to write it to that same file. So this is the double greater than symbol, so this is going to add this line to that. So it's going to have two lines in it. They're going to have this information in it. There's really nothing to show in the echo because the echo is going to the text file. It's not going to the output file here. So if you look at the echo command, it echoes, but it produces no output. And then this echo doesn't produce any output after echoing. That's because the output goes to the text file. And this symbol here does that. Now after I hit the key to go on, we'll see how to read from those files. And I'm turning the echo off. There's too much detail in the output. It's liable to confuse you. After you copy the code from my web page into your computer, feel free to remove this echo off so that all these commands will echo. and do that on all of my sample code for all my videos. You can turn echo on and off by just sticking this echo instruction in somewhere, and at that point it will start echoing the commands or quit echoing those commands depending on whether it says echo on or echo off. The default is echo on. For each time you execute code, it will start echoing until you turn it off. Here's the simplest way to read the first line of a text file. Set /p x equal less than symbol followed by the name of the file, text out. Over here I have turned echo off to simplify the output, but now I echo and then first line read. So we look for first line read, name 1, name 2, name 3. That's what we wrote into the file as the first line. This simple structure can only be used to read the first text line from a file. The syntax for the remaining code is more complicated, and the code reads all the lines from the text file. Delimiters can separate the text in one line of the text file into different pieces. And delimiters can basically be any character you want them to be. This command tells the processor that there are no delimiters. That means that all of the text on the line will be read into a single item called a token. And the tokens are referred to in this special form of the for with a %, or it could be a %, and a number. And the file name that it's reading from is given here. So what it does is for each line of the file, it reads the entire line, because there are no delimiters, into %1. Then it echoes the line with this text, line read as a single token, colon, and then the line it read. Remember, it's the entire line. So there are only 2 lines in the file, so this thing will go through twice, and there'll be 2 lines where it echoes the lines, and here they are. When we created the text out file, we put this in the first line and this in the second line. And they are all read in one chunk. It reads all of this, and then it echoes it as %I. It does the same thing on the second line. Now, there's another way to read where you use delimiters and read more than one token. And the second example here reads 3 tokens. It reads 3 items from the file separated by a space. There's a space here in the delimiters. Well, what it does is it reads 3 tokens, so it reads one into %I, but it reads the second one into %J and then %K. If I had a number here, it would read them into ascending numbers. So let's see how this one works. It's reading the same file. So it reads the 3 tokens and it echoes all 3 in the line. So first 3 tokens, name 1, name 2, name 3. Remember, the difference here is they're all in one piece here, read and written as one piece. There are 3 different pieces here that are all being echoed. It's echoing %I, J, and K. If you want to do more than one command for each of the lines you read, you have to use the block format with the opening parentheses and the closing parentheses, and then it'll execute all the lines between for each of the lines of text it reads. When you do that, as we mentioned before, you have a problem with when the substitution gets done by the processor. And if you use a variable inside the block, the processor will by default use the value that variable had when you started processing the for command, and it will use that same value for all passes through the loop, which is not what you usually want. So again, you have this command set local enable delayed expansion, and that tells the processor when you encounter a variable that's being evaluated on the right side of something, if it has exclamation points around it, don't evaluate it using the first value it had when you started the for. use the current value each time through the loop. We discussed that in an earlier video. So if you don't do it this way and put the exclamation points around it, what will happen is all the lines and all the passes through the loop will echo exactly the same thing here, because it will have replaced that with text. And there won't be a variable there. But with the exclamation points, it does it properly. And let's see how this one works. Echo the first 3 tokens. There they are. Echo the first 3 tokens. And remember, it's a little confusing. What you might want to do when you're debugging a more complicated text like this, or more complicated code like this, stick a bunch of echoes in to echo messages so you know where you are in the code exactly, because it's a little hard to tell where I am now. So let's see. We did the single token, the lines with the message single token. It's right here. So we did that twice. Now we're down here, and we do the first 3 tokens. We do those 2 lines. But now we're down here in this big block right here. First 3 tokens. The first echo line inside that block there is inside this block here is this echo here, name 1, name 2, name 3. Then it does some logic. It sets Y to the first token, and then echoes the message the first token is, and it's name 1. Remember, that's because we referenced it as %%I. That's J, that's K. So then we added some text to the variable just to make sure we were doing the variables right. So we added the text, added this text to the variable on the right side of it, so that then when we say the first token with text added is, we go ahead and we list the first token, name 1, and then we added that text, added this text. So that tells us that we are evaluating the variable properly in that loop. Now the second pass through, same thing happens. You put the 3 tokens out, you pull out the first token, second line. That's the first token, then you add that text to it, and then you echo it out. And sure enough, second line, and then added this text. And when we press a key, we'll continue from there. So just remember how the tokens work. So we're going to press a space bar, and we're going to go on in this, and we're going to go below this pause here. So let's just scroll it up. Now what this does, it doesn't use delimiters. We're reading in a block. We've told it we don't have delimiters. That means that the lines will be read into single tokens, and it's this one. There's no J and K involved. No delimiter says read the whole line in the 1 token, so %I, fine. Echo the token. So there's the token, name 1, name 2, name 3. We set Y to the token, we echo the line read is, just to make sure we're handling variables right. So it says the line read is, and it's sure enough, it's the correct thing. It's the whole line in the 1 token. And we do the same thing on the second line from in the file. There's the whole line read, the whole line. Remember, 1 token. Okay, let's go forward from that pause. Let's make sure that we're processing things correctly one more time. This says we're going to read 3 tokens, and we're going to use a comma delimiter. So this is different, and that's because we're reading from a different file. We're reading from text out 1. Remember, we wrote things into text out 1 that were separated by commas. That's what you really need to do if you're writing stuff into a file that you're going to pull out, and the individual pieces you want to pull out include spaces. So then you separate them with commas. So let's see how this one works. Remember, this is a different file. It does have things in it separated by commas. So goes through the loop, echoes the first 3 tokens. Remember, we're reading tokens 1, 2, and 3. By the way, we could skip. We could say read token 1, token 4, token 5, separated by commas if we wanted to do that. But this says read the first 3 tokens with a comma delimiter. So the first token, there's the 3 tokens. There's the first token. And again, there's the first token. We added some text to it just to make sure we're handling the variables right, and we are. The second line has this in it, and we wrote that in it in our earlier part of this code. Separated by commas in the file, remember. But we read them with a comma delimiter, so the commas get removed and the other stuff gets put into those variables I, j, and k. Then we pull out the first one. That's here, I, j, and k. Then the first one again, we wrote it out here, and sure enough it's DEF, and we added some text, and sure enough that. So we're processing them correctly. I'll point out again, the syntax here is extremely rigid. Don't change anything. Don't put any spaces in where I don't have them. Don't take them out where I do have them, and you will find that this code will work for you if you want to modify it and use it for your own purposes. Thanks for watching my video. If you like this video, please click my name, Thomas Wallace, to visit my channel page to watch my other videos.